You've been told to chase money, to chase status, to chase approval. But what if I told you? None of that matters if you lose the war within. Stoics knew a secret. The world outside can fall apart, but if you master yourself, you will always win. Today, I'll show you why the most powerful strategy in life is simple. Focus on you, until you win. For centuries, the greatest minds from Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus faced unimaginable challenges. They didn't control the world. They didn't beg for applause. They focused only on one thing: their own discipline, their own character, their own inner fortress. And that's exactly what we're going to explore in this video. How to apply the timeless wisdom of Stoicism to build an unshakable life. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Let's begin. There is a simple phrase that has the power to reshape your entire life if you dare to live by it. Focus on you until you win. At first it sounds like just another motivational slogan. The kind of line you might scroll past without a second thought. But when you actually taste the weight of those words, you realize it carries the essence of an ancient truth. It carries the spirit of the Stoics, men who lived 2,000 years ago. You looked at the chaos of the world and discovered that victory does not come from conquering others, but from conquering yourself. Think about your own life. Every single day, distractions demand your attention. The endless scroll of social media, the opinions of strangers, the pressure of comparison, the noise of 1,000 voices telling you what you should do, who you should be, how you should feel. And in the middle of all that noise, you lose sight of the one person you were born to master, yourself. This is why the Stoics, from Epictetus to Marcus Aurelius, repeated the same lesson over and over. The only thing you truly control is your mind. Your choices, your actions, everything else, your reputation, your wealth, your relationships, even your health, stands outside of your complete control. They can vanish in an instant. To chase them blindly is to set yourself up for despair. But to focus on what is within your control is to stand unshaken, even as storms rage around you. So what does it mean to focus on you until you win? It means exactly this: to withdraw your attention from the distractions, from the drama of others, from the things beyond your grasp, and to pour all of it back into yourself, into your discipline, into your character, into your resilience, into the way you respond when life pushes you to the edge. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This was not poetry to him. It was survival. Imagine the weight of ruling an empire at war, surrounded by betrayal, facing plagues, rebellions, the constant threat of death. And yet, in his private journals, he reminded himself of a truth we all need today. It is not the events that break us, but our judgments about them. The battle is not outside. The battle is within. The modern world has convinced us that winning means trophies, bank accounts, followers, recognition. But the Stoics knew that these things are fragile. You can win them and lose them in a heartbeat. True winning is internal. It is being able to wake up in the morning and know you did not betray yourself yesterday. It is being able to look at your reflection and see someone who did the work, someone who acted with integrity, someone who kept their focus even when temptation whispered. And this is the painful truth: most people never win, not because life was unfair to them, but because they never focused long enough to overcome themselves. They scatter their energy in 100 directions. They try to impress others. They try to control things that were never theirs to control. And in doing so, they abandon the only battlefield that mattered, the one within their own mind. Picture a man trying to chase the wind. He runs with all his might, but the wind slips through his fingers. That man is the one who wastes his days chasing validation, chasing what others think. But picture another man, sitting quietly, steadying his breath, mastering his thought. He cannot control the wind, but he can control his sails. That man will go farther than the first could ever dream. This is what focusing on yourself until you win means. It is not selfishness. It is not isolation. It is alignment with reality. Because when you become stronger, calmer, wiser, you serve the world better. When you discipline yourself, you inspire others without words. When you master your reactions, you stop contributing to the chaos and become a source of stability. Epictetus, born a slave, crippled in body but unbroken in spirit, told his students, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because the moment you decide to truly focus on yourself, to cut out distractions, to stop caring about the judgments of others, people will not understand. They will mock you. They will call you obsessed, arrogant, delusional. But what they cannot see is that you are engaged in the hardest, noblest work a human being can do. The work of to live by this principle is to make a radical shift in how you measure success. You stop asking, did they like me? And start asking, did I live according to my values today? You stop measuring progression like success and start measuring it in moments of discipline. In the battles won against laziness, against anger, against fear, you will find that when you focus on you, the world begins to change around you. Not because the world has changed, but because your perception has. The Stoic new perception is everything. As Marcus read, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you think of yourself as powerless, you will live powerless. If you think of yourself as a victim, you will live like one. But if you think of yourself as the master of your own actions, you become one. Here's the paradox. When you finally stop obsessing over winning in the eyes of others, when you finally turn inward and commit to focusing on yourself, that is when you actually start winning in life. Because the victories within you spill outward, people begin to notice your calmness, your strength, your consistency. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. And suddenly you become the kind of person who inspires by example, not by words. But this journey is not easy. It demands sacrifice. It demands that you cut off distractions. You say no to the shallow pleasures that others indulge in. But you embrace solitude when needed. It demands that you face your own weaknesses without flinching. And most of all, it demands patience. Because focusing on yourself until you win is not about one big moment of glory. It is about 1,000 small victories, day after day, year after year, until you have forged yourself into someone unrecognizable to your former self. So ask yourself now, what does winning mean to you? Is it applause or is it respect? Is it status or is it peace of mind? If you are honest, you already know the answer. Deep down, you crave something that the outside world cannot give you. You crave mastery over yourself. The Stoics will tell you, begin today. Begin with the smallest step. Focus on what you can control. Focus on your actions, your words, your thoughts. Refuse to waste energy on the things outside your control. And do this not for a week, not for a month, but until you win. Until you reach that quiet, unshakable place where the noise of the world cannot touch you. That is where true victory lies, not in the applause of others, but in the stillness of your own soul. When you decide to focus on yourself until you win, you quickly discover something most people spend their lives running from. Obstacles. They are everywhere. They block your path, mock your progress, and whisper to you that maybe, just maybe, this journey isn't worth it. But here is where Stoicism transforms the way you see the world. For the Stoic, obstacles are not interruptions, they are the path itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote a line so powerful that it has echoed through centuries. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It sounds almost paradoxical, but this truth is at the core of Stoic strength. Every obstacle, every setback, every insult, every loss, these are not signs you should quit. They are raw material, fuel for your growth, gift disguised as trials. Think about it. The gym builds your muscles by resisting you. The weight fights you, and in fighting it, you grow stronger. In life, the same principle applies. Adversity is weight. Struggle is resistance. Pain is the pressure. And without them, there is no growth. Without them, you remain weak, untested, fragile. So when life places obstacles before you, it is not punishing you. It is shaping you. The ordinary person looks at the challenge and thinks, why me? Why now? But the Stoic asks, how can this serve me? How can I use this? That is the question that separates victims from victors. To the Stoic, every difficulty is an invitation to practice virtue. Insult, a chance to practice patience. Betrayal, a chance to practice forgiveness and wisdom. Loss, a chance to practice resilience. Fear, a chance to practice courage. Epictetus, born a slave, crippled and ridiculed, should have been broken by life. Instead, he became one of the greatest teachers of human freedom. Why? Because he understood that no one could chain his mind. They could harm his body, insult his name, strip him of possessions, but they could not touch his inner freedom. To him, every hardship was a classroom, every insult a lesson. And this is how he turned obstacles into stepping stones toward greatness. But let's be honest, when you face obstacles in your own life, it doesn't feel like an opportunity. It feels like punishment. You lose your job, and fear chokes you. The relationship ends, and the pain burns through your chest. You face failure, and the world seems to laugh at you. In those moments, it is easy to collapse, to curse fate, to abandon the path. But this is exactly when you must remember, what stands in the way becomes the way. Your suffering is not meaningless. Your hardship is not wasted. It is material. What fire is the goal? Struggle is your soul. It burns away weakness. It refines strength. It leaves behind only what is indestructible. That is why the Stoics could endure what broke others. They trained themselves to reinterpret every obstacle, not as a curse, but as an ally. Consider this: when you focus on yourself until you win, the very obstacles that others use as excuses will become your trophies. The failed business that taught you resilience, the heartbreak that forged your independence, the rejection that built your discipline. Every scar becomes a story, every setback a lesson, every defeat a seed of eventual victory. But here lies the danger. Temptation, while obstacles test your strength, temptations test your focus, and they are often harder to fight, because obstacles confront you head-on, but temptations creep in silently. Disguised as comfort, they say. Take a break, scroll a little longer, skip the hard work today, you deserve it. They appear harmless, but slowly, they drain your focus, one moment at a time, until years have passed and you realize you are seduced away from your path. Seneca warned about this when he wrote, "We are always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there will be no end of them. Temptations waste your life, not in dramatic battles, but in tiny, unnoticed surrenders. And when you have surrendered enough, you wake up and realize you've lost not a day, not a month, but a lifetime." So the Stoic trains daily, like a soldier sharpening his sword. He knows the enemy comes in many forms, sometimes as hardship, sometimes as pleasure, sometimes as despair, sometimes as comfort, and he prepares not by wishing for an easier life, but by fortifying himself for a harder one. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, "You will meet people today who are middling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He did not wake expecting a smooth road. He woke expecting difficulty, and by expecting it, he was not surprised by it. This is another secret of focusing until you win. Expect resistance, welcome it, train for it. Then, when it arrives, you will not be caught off guard. You will already be stronger than it. Imagine your life as a great journey across the sea. Obstacles are the storms, temptations the sirens, and you are the captain. A weak captain curses the weather, lames the waves, follows every distraction. But a wise captain studies the storm, adjusts the sails, ignores the siren songs, and presses forward. The storm that sinks one ship propels another toward greatness. The same waves that drown one man carry another to his destiny. The difference is not the sea. The difference is the captain. You are that captain. And the question is simple. Will you let storms break you? Or will you learn to use their wind? Will you let temptation seduce you? Or will you silence their song with discipline? This is why focus on you until you win is more than motivation. It is strategy. It means taking responsibility for how you meet each obstacle, how you resist each temptation. It means refusing to be the victim of circumstance, and instead becoming the master of response. When you live this way, life itself becomes your training ground. Every insult, every challenge, every rejection becomes your teacher, and slowly you realize that nothing was wasted. That even the darkest chapters of your story were necessary for your transformation. The Stoics believed fate gives us the canvas, but we are the painters. Obstacles are the shadows, temptations, the distractions, and we decide whether to create a masterpiece or to abandon the canvas unfinished. The choice is always ours. So the next time you face an obstacle, pause, breathe, remind yourself, this is not here to destroy me. It is here to refine me. The next time temptation whispers, remember Seneca's warning. Time is slipping through your fingers. Do not trade eternity for moments of comfort. Focus on you until you win. And understand that winning is not found in avoiding obstacles or resisting every temptation perfectly. Winning is found in transforming those very challenges into strength, in bending adversity into your advantage, in using every hardship as firewood for your inner flame. Because in the end, the obstacle is not the enemy. The temptation is not the enemy. They are both the invitations. Invitations to rise higher than you were yesterday. Invitations to become unshakable. Invitations to master yourself. And if you accept them, if you embrace the discipline to keep going, then every obstacle will one day become proof that you did not break, you did not surrender, you did not scatter your focus. You focused on you, and in doing so, you became unstoppable. Focusing on yourself until you win is not an idea you visit once in a while. It is not something you remind yourself of when life gets tough, only to abandon it when things get easier. It is a discipline, a ritual, a daily practice that must be lived, breathed, and repeat it until it becomes part of who you are. Without discipline, focus is fragile. Without practice, philosophy is nothing more than empty words. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. They did not see philosophy as something to discuss in classrooms or recite in debates. To them, philosophy was a way of life, practical, relentless, and intimate. It was the training ground for the soul. Just as athletes train their bodies, the Stoics trained their minds, and this is how they remained steady when the storms of life tried to shake them. Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most powerful man in the world at his time, would wake every morning and write in his journal. He reminded himself of truths he already knew, but that he had to repeat until they sank into his bones. That he would meet people full of arrogance, envy, and ignorance. That he must control his reactions. That virtue, not power, defined his worth. Imagine that. An emperor writing pep talks to himself, not because he was weak, but because he understood that discipline begins with reminding the mind of what is true, every single day. This is your first practice. Daily reflection, whether it is journaling like Marcus, meditating in silence, or simply sitting with your thoughts, you must return to yourself each day. Ask yourself, what is within my control today? What virtues will I practice? Where did I fall short yesterday, and how will I rise today? This practice pulls your focus back to you, away from distractions, and onto the only battlefield that matters, your own choices. But discipline is not just about reflection. It is also about action. Epictetus warned his students not to become mere philosophers of words. He said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. To embody it means to act according to it, in the smallest and simplest moments. To speak with honesty when lying would be easier. To remain calm when anger tempts you. To work diligently when laziness whispers in your ear. Philosophy is not what you say. It is what you do when no one is watching. Think about your daily life. Most people wasted in endless distraction. Waking up late, scrolling endlessly, complaining about things they cannot control, reacting to every piece of negativity around them. If you live like that, your focus is gone before the day even begins. But if you choose discipline, you take back your day. You rise early, you set intentions, you remind yourself of what is yours to control, and you begin with purpose. Seneca once wrote, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Discipline is the antidote to waste. Every time you resist distraction, every time you choose action over excuses, every time you train your mind to focus, you reclaim a piece of your life. Over weeks, months, and years, this adds up to something extraordinary. Momentum. Momentum that makes you unstoppable. And make no mistake, discipline will not feel glamorous. It will feel repetitive, even boring. Waking up early, writing in your journal, training your body, studying your craft, choosing patience, biting your tongue when you want to lash out. These are not headline-worthy moments. They are small, quiet victories, but stacked together, they build the unshakable foundation of true strength. Consider this. A soldier does not become ready for war by fighting once. He trains daily, drilling the same movements, sharpening the same sword, until battle becomes instinct. In the same way, when you discipline yourself through daily practice, you prepare for the wars of life. Then, when real challenges appear, you do not panic, you do not collapse. You respond as you have trained, calmly, with focus, with power. This is the second practice. Voluntary hardship. The Stoics believed you must sometimes train by denying yourself comfort, by choosing difficulty when ease is available. Seneca would sleep on a hard bed, wear rough clothing, eat plain food, and then ask himself, is this what I feared? By practicing discomfort in times of peace, he prepared himself for hardship in times of crisis. How does this apply to you? It means choosing to do the hard thing, even when the easy thing tempts you. Taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Finishing the work instead of procrastinating. Sitting in silence instead of drowning in noise. By practicing small acts of discipline, you build a muscle to endure larger trials. The third practice is negative visualization. The Stoics taught themselves to imagine the worst, not to live in fear, but to strip fear of its power. They would picture losing wealth, status, even loved ones, and in doing so, they reminded themselves of the fragility of life. This practice is not morbid. It is liberating. It sharpens your gratitude, reminding you that every moment, every possession, every person you love is a gift, not a guarantee. And when you understand that, you live more fully, and you cling less desperately to things outside your control. Together, these practices, reflection, action, hardship, visualization, form the discipline of daily victory. They are the tools that turn focus into resilience, and resilience into mastery. But discipline also requires one final ingredient: persistence. Anyone can be disciplined for a day. Some can hold it for a week. Few can maintain it for a lifetime. Yet that is exactly what focusing until you win demands. The Stoics understood this. They did not aim for quick bursts of greatness. They aimed for lifelong consistency. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Day after day, he returned to these reminders. Even when he failed, even when he fell short, he did not demand perfection of himself. He demanded persistence. And that is the real secret. Discipline is not about never falling. It is about rising every time you do. It is about holding your focus steady through seasons of triumph and seasons of despair. It is about treating each day as training, each failure as feedback, each success as a reminder to stay humble. So when you ask yourself how to focus on you until you win, the answer is not a mystery. It is not waiting for motivation nor hoping for luck. It is in discipline. It is in small daily victories that no one else sees, but that transform you into someone who cannot be broken. Win the morning by controlling how you begin. Win the day by acting according to your values. Win the night by reflecting on what you learned. Repeat this until it becomes natural, until the world cannot tempt you away, until no obstacle can surprise you, until no failure can defeat you. And one day, without realizing it, you will wake up and see that you have won. Not because you conquered others, but because you conquered yourself. When you focus on yourself until you win, the first victories are invisible. No one notices when you wake earlier than usual, when you silence your phone instead of scrolling, when you choose patience over anger. These are private battles, fought in silence, and they do not bring applause. But slowly, something begins to happen. Without chasing recognition, without forcing influence, your discipline begins to radiate outward. People see it, even if they cannot explain it. Your self-mastery becomes a light, and it changes the world around you. The Stoics never told us to withdraw completely from society. They never preached selfish isolation. Quite the opposite. They believed that by becoming stronger, calmer, and wiser, we become more useful to others. For what good is a leader who cannot control himself? What good is a friend who collapses under pressure? What good is a parent who is enslaved to anger and fear? When you master yourself, you don't just win for you. You win for everyone connected to you. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of Rome, wrote constantly about his duty to others. He reminded himself that human beings are made for cooperation, like hands or feet working together. He understood that his private discipline was not for vanity. It was so that he could be a just ruler, a steady presence in times of chaos, a man who served rather than exploited. His private victories became public blessings, and so it is with you. When you focus on yourself until you win, you do not become cold or distant. You become reliable. You become someone others can lean on. Your calmness in the storm reassures them. Your discipline inspires them. Your integrity earns their trust. Without ever preaching, without ever demanding attention, you influence more deeply than the loudest voices ever could. But here is where the paradox lies. If you chase influence directly, if you obsess over winning approval, you lose it. You become a performer, constantly bending to the applause of a crowd. Your identity becomes fragile, built on the shifting opinions of others. But if you ignore the applause, if you master yourself quietly, the world will eventually notice. It always does. People crave authenticity in the world drowning in noise, and authenticity can only be born from discipline. This is why the Stoic path is so radical in our age. Today, influence is sold as something you can hack with algorithms, shortcuts, and clever tricks. But the Stoics remind us, real influence cannot be fake. It is earned by who you are, not what you pretend to be. It is earned in the silent hours of others, in the decisions you make when no one is watching, in the focus you maintain when everyone else is distracted. Epictetus told his students, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Live so clearly that people see your values without needing to hear them. Be the man who remains calm in a crisis, and others will want to know your secret. Be the woman who keeps working when everyone else has quit, and others will ask where your strength comes from. Be the leader who listens instead of shouting, and people will trust you without hesitation. Influence without chasing it. That is the ripple effect also. But this influence is not just about power or admiration. It is about legacy. Every choice you make ripples outward, shaping the people around you, and through them, shaping the world. If you lack discipline, if you give in to anger, if you scatter your focus, you spread chaos. But if you master yourself, if you act with integrity, if you stay steady, you spread order. you respect peace, you plant seeds of courage in others. Think about your closest relationships, your family, your friends, your colleagues. When you focus on yourself, when you build inner strength, you become a better presence in their lives. You argue less, you listen more, you give without resentment, you love without chains. People are drawn to those who do not demand from them what they cannot give. And by mastering yourself, you free others from the burden of carrying your storms. This does not mean you will be perfect. The Stoics were not statues, untouched by emotion. They felt anger, sorrow, temptation, but they practiced returning to themselves, correcting their course, rising again after each fall. And in doing so, they modeled resilience. Your loved ones do not need you to be flawless. They need you to be committed to the work of self-mastery, committed to staying focused even when life tries to scatter you. Beyond relationships, focusing on yourself until you win transforms the way you serve the greater world. It gives your life direction, because when you know how to master yourself, you stop being enslaved to the false gods of wealth, fame, and pleasure. You stop chasing meaningless victories. You begin to ask the deeper question, how can I contribute? How can my strength serve something beyond myself? Marcus Aurelius carried the weight of an empire, but he constantly reminded himself that power meant nothing without virtue. Seneca was one of Rome's richest men, but he reminded himself daily that wealth is worthless if it owns you. Epictetus, who had almost nothing, carried more freedom in his heart than many kings. These men, so different in station, shared the same truth. Real winning is not about what you acquire, it is about what you become and what you give. When you focus on you until you win, the end result is not isolation, but expansion. You expand your capacity to give. You expand your ability to remain steady when others falter. You expand your influence, not by force, but by example. The disciplined soul becomes a lighthouse, guiding others through the storm without ever shouting, "Look at me." But let me be clear, this ripple effect is not instant. It takes years, decades, sometimes a lifetime. The Stoics did not expect overnight transformation. They expected progress, not perfection. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, admitted his weaknesses in his journal. Seneca confessed that he still wrestled with greed, anger, and ambition. Epictetus admitted that discipline is a constant struggle, and yet they pressed forward, day after day, because they knew that each small victory added to the ripple, and the ripple would one day become a wave. This is the legacy you build when you focus on yourself until you win. Not a legacy of applause or fame, but a legacy of strength, of calmness, of integrity. A legacy where people who cross your path walk away stronger because of your example. A legacy where your children, your friends, your community inherit the fate of yourself. Shall never believe that focusing on yourself is selfish. It is the opposite. It is the most generous act you can perform. Because when you master yourself, you relieve others of your chaos. You give them the gift of your steadiness. You inspire them to master themselves. And this is how the world changes. Not through speeches, not through noise, but through the quiet power of example. Focus on you until you win, because when you win, everyone around you wins too. At the end of every struggle, at the summit of every victory, a strange realization awaits. You are never fighting against the world. Not really. The true battle was always within. The distractions, the critics, the chaos outside, these were only reflections of your own inner turmoil. The only enemy worth defeating was the weaker version of yourself, and the only victory worth claiming was mastery over your own mind. To focus on you until you win is not about becoming untouchable in the eyes of others. It is about becoming unshakable in your own. It is about reaching a point where circumstances lose their power over you, where angels fail to wound you, where loss does not break you, where success does not intoxicate you. It is about standing firm in a world that constantly trembles. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by betrayal, plague, and war, found peace in himself. Epictetus, born a slave, discovered a freedom that no master could take away. Seneca, walking the tightrope of politics and wealth, learned to detach his soul from possessions, so he could face death without fear. Each of them, in their own way, embodied this truth. The outside world is not ours to command. but in a world of thoughts, our actions, our discipline, this is ours. This is where victory lives. Imagine a fortress. Its walls are not built of stone, but of principles. Its guards are not soldiers, but habits. Its foundation is not land, but clarity of purpose. This is the fortress the Stoics built inside themselves, and this is the fortress you must build, because the storms of life are sudden, loss is sudden, pain is sudden, failure is sudden. But if your walls are strong, if your habits are disciplined, if your foundation is purpose, you will not fall. The modern world promises comfort, but Stoicism reminds us that comfort is fragile. The job, the money, the approval of others, these can vanish in an instant. If your happiness depends on them, you are not free. You are a prisoner wearing a golden chain. But if your happiness depends only on your own discipline, your own choices, your own clarity, then no one can imprison you. You become untouchable, not because life does not hurt you, but because life cannot control you. This is the ultimate victory. Freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from vanity. Freedom from the endless chase for validation. Freedom from being a slave to your own desires. When you focus on yourself until you win, what you truly win is freedom. And freedom is the only prize worth dying for. But do not mistake this for isolation. An unshakable life is not a selfish one. It is a life that gives more because it needs less. When you are free from your own storms, you can help others weather theirs. When you are not desperate for approval, you can give love without chains. When you are not blinded by greed, you can use wealth as a tool instead of worshipping it as a god. When you are not enslaved by fear, you can lead others with courage. This is the paradox of Stoicism. The more you focus on yourself, the more you serve the world. By winning the inner war, you bring peace to the outer one. Your self-mastery becomes a gift to everyone you meet. And so, the question remains, how will you live? Will you chase applause until exhaustion breaks you? Will you scatter your energy until you are a shadow of yourself? Will you let the world dictate who you are, what you think, and how you feel? Or will you take the Stoic path? Will you choose to focus on yourself until you win, and in doing so, become unshakable? Perhaps you wonder what this really looks like. In practice, today, it looks like waking up and choosing discipline over distraction. It looks like pausing before anger controls you. It looks like facing rejection and continuing forward. It looks like practicing gratitude even when life is unfair. It looks like working silently, patiently, day after day, without needing recognition. It looks like remembering in every moment that you cannot control the world, but you can always control yourself. One day, you will leave this world. No one escapes that truth, but between now and then, you have a choice to live scattered, enslaved, distracted, or to live focused, free, unshakable. The Stoics would remind you that time is shorter than you think. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. You do not have decades to waste on the approval of strangers, on the illusions of wealth, on the addiction to comfort. You have today. You have this moment, and this moment is enough to begin. Focus on yourself until you win. Win not by conquering the world, but by conquering yourself. Win not by silencing others, but by silencing the noise within. win not by becoming untouchable, but by becoming unshakable. And when you do, you will discover the most profound victory of all. Peace, not the financial peace that comes from things going your way, but the unbreakable peace that remains even when nothing does. A peace the world cannot give and cannot take away. This is the Stoic victory. This is the unshakable life. Focus on you until you win, because the world does not need another distracted soul. It needs your strength. It needs your example. It needs you focused, disciplined, unshakable. In the end, life is not about controlling the world, it's about controlling yourself. The critics, the chaos, the losses, they will always be there. But if you focus on yourself until you win, you will discover a victory the world cannot touch. Peace, freedom, strength. Want Stoicism, want the unshakable life. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it. And remember, the greatest battle you will ever fight is the one within.